joining us, we have Beth and she is from Ugga Mugga Bakery here in the High Country. And as you can see, she has brought some delicious looking cakes with her. It's very hard for me to get through this interview without wanting something absolutely delicious.
Thank you.
Now, talk with us a little bit about Ugga Mugga Bakery for any of our viewers who may not have stopped by before.
Well, I am new to the High Country. We moved here last summer. However, I am not new to baking. This May will have been 4 years that I have officially had the bakery that I've been baking for people professionally. And I just opened up here before the holidays up in Blowing Rock. And I have a retail space at Blowing Rock Produce and Provisions, and that's where I kind of have a bunch of goodies, kind of some stuff that I make for people to come and pick up. And then also, if you special order a cake, it'll magically appear with your name on it in my beautiful little cake fridge. And I've just been so happy that the town up there has been so welcoming and in need of awesome, yummy cakes. And it's just been a really great experience for me so far.
I think everybody's in need of awesome yummy
cakes. Of course they are. Little Ugga Mugga love.
Absolutely. Now, how did you get involved in baking?
Actually, I was a musician before that. I've always been performing. I have a theater degree and a trumpet performance minor, and I've had a trumpet in my hand since I was about 8. And after college, I went to college to play. I played professionally after college, and you know, once you have kids, professional musician and and kids don't ever mix. I would get home from weddings or huge events at like 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, and the babies would be up at 6, and you would just be exhausted. It would take a day to recover from missing all that sleep, and so eventually after realizing I love to do this, but it's just not going to work with being the stay-at-home mom. So I needed an outlet for my creativity. And it was very interesting because entertaining and baking just kind of filled that outlet. It was a very seamless, kind of interesting, a thing. And I overlapped the two for a good probably 1.5 years. And it was almost going to happen where I made the wedding cake and performed for the wedding. It was in the wedding band too at the same time, but I think I missed that by like 6 months. But it was like a very natural progression from being on stage and performing all the time and playing trumpet all the time to just having the creative energy and funneling it through fondant cakes and baking. It was very funny how it happened. But I've talked to a lot of people that kind of have said the same thing. So.
Well, it seems like you have a lot of talent for this. Now, tell us about these 3 cakes that we've got right here. They look delicious.
Sure. They're actually on their way to Yosefa Antiquities, which is down on Howard Street in Boone. I bake for them and fill their case on a weekly basis. One of my best sellers is this chocolate peanut butter bomb cake here. It's usually half gone by the time they close. The one on the cake stand in the middle is one of my personal favorites. It's a vanilla salted caramel. Salted caramel popcorn. I love making homemade caramel. It's one of the things that I put on my pecan bars that is just one of my favorite flavors. And so that's kind of how that one, and of course, who doesn't want some salt on top of sweets? Oh, yeah. And then just kind of a throwback to everybody's kiddie favorite, a classic Oreo. You can't jazz up Oreos. It's just Oreos, and that's and people just see that and say, oh, I just want to go back to my childhood and eat some smashed up Oreos and chocolate right now. Oh, yeah. So these 3 will be there actually today, and it's kind of nice because they give me carte blanche to kind of come up with what flavors. I usually always have a chocolate peanut butter in the case, but they kind of give me a chance to come up with whatever flavors that I feel like I'm doing a lot of lemon raspberry, lemon blueberries, change it seasonally. And their manager is amazing for that kind of stuff. So
I think they're going to have a mad rush today after the show.
Yes, they are open, I believe, until 10 tonight. So
okay, perfect. Plenty of chances to come and try these 3 cakes. Now, tell us about the other things that you make.
I do. This is just these are the funnest things for me. Is taking these are my little cakes. I usually do. A lot of wedding cakes. Wedding season starts for me in about 2 weeks. I love to make funny fondant cakes. Like if somebody says, I'm having a pig roast, I'll just say, stop, pick it up on Tuesday, and I love to hear what people are saying and then just kind of create a cake around that. So one of my clients in New Hampshire where I had my bakery, where I started the bakery, she was a client of mine she got all of her kids' cakes from me, and then finally it was her anniversary, and the kids were throwing a pig roast, and I said, "That's enough. I don't have to hear anymore." And I made a huge fondant, pig with the apple in its mouth, and but so I love to do a lot of whimsical cake bossy type fondant stuff, and then of course wedding cakes, are super fun, and that's where the creativity really comes in is the fondant work. So, and then I make pecan bars and lemon citrus bars and truffles and little grab and go things. And you can get that at Produce and Provisions at my retail space up in Blowing Rock every day of the week as well. And I actually just paired with the Casa Rustica, amazing Italian-American restaurant here in town. They are now going to be carrying my signature chocolate peanut butter bomb cake, starting actually with last night's dinner. So you can get it there, as well as my Southern butter pecan bars. You can get with a nice big scoop of vanilla ice cream, all gooey and good, as a dessert as well. So
perfect.
Kind of spreading out a little bit in the North Country, and so hopefully everybody gets to taste my stuff. And it's just been really fun. I love doing it, and it's exciting to feed people. I just want to make and feed. That's what it's just. It's so fun for me. Yeah.
Now, any items that are particular favorites that you have people coming back for again and again?
I'd say a favorite up in Blowing Rock that I can't seem to keep in stock right now is Cindy citrus bars, and it's actually my mom is Cindy, and it was a cookie. It was a citrus cookie that she used to make. And I hate making cookies. They're a pain in the butt, and they never, ever, they're so finicky, and it's very time consuming. So I'm thinking, I don't want to let go of this cookie because it's like so good tasting, and it has this amazing orange and lemon zest glaze on the top. And so I thought to myself, man, I'm just going to make this into a bar form. And so I made them into a bar form, and they hit the store shelves, and then everywhere I'd walk in, people, Ugga Mugga, Ugga Mugga, and they're like, man, those citrus bars, oh my gosh. And then they're like those lemon bars, those orange bars, and people just don't know what they are, but they talk about those all the time. And then obviously my Southern butter pecan bars, people always come up with clever names that they want to name them because they just think they love them. And I love to hear people's stories. Like, they stop me on the street and say, I save it and I cut pieces off of it in my freezer, or I know it's, they tell me all the little stories. I save it and I hide it with my wine. Or it's like, I love talking to the public and doing markets like that, like the wine fest that we just did, because people come out of the woodwork and tell me little tidbits, and I love that kind of stuff. So it's always funny. I love to talk to people. So
now, Ugga Mugga, it's a name that's hard to forget. Talk with us about how you came up with this name.
Sure. I actually grew up in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I was born and raised there, and Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood is filmed there, and so Daniel Striped Tiger, when he would kiss Lady Elaine, they would do Eskimo kisses, and they would say Ugga Mugga, Ugga Mugga. And I grew up in a very tight-knit family. My brother and sister and I are very close, as well as my parents. And when we were little, I'm the youngest of three, we would kind of we would choo-choo around the hardwood floor and say Ugga Mugga, and we do trains. And I'll take any opportunity in the world to think of my brother, my sister, my parents, and I'm a hugely nostalgic family. And so anything that reminds me of them, I kind of tend to gravitate towards. And it just, as soon as I hear it, I just think of my brother and sister, which instantly makes me happy. And so, and my parents. And so anytime I can think about, the five of us at any time, and that's what Ugga Mugga just reminds me of my wonderful family. I grew up in a really great family, so I couldn't imagine it being anything else. Fantastic. So I kind of carry the four of them around with me.
It's very cool. Now, big move that you guys have just done. Talk about kind of where you're hoping things will go in the next little bit here in the High Country. Yes,
I'm actually very excited. I have booked a lot of weddings this summer, so I'm very excited to work with a lot of clients as far as that goes, and a few like pairing with Casa Rustica and a few other little tidbits. But my retail shop in Produce and Provisions is now up and running, and that's very exciting for me. And I can't wait to look into, been looking at spaces around Blowing Rock to try to find a perfect space for us to move into and to kind of grow and expand, and be able to bake on the premises and be able to just be there, you know, at 8 a.m. and have people walking in and feeding them and baking for them all day. So I'm very excited about what's upcoming for the two of us and venturing. And it's kind of fun because at Produce and Provisions, it's they have amazing beer, amazing wine, amazing produce and food, and like some really amazing cuts of steak, all North Carolina products, some cheese straws that are homemade. Some products have really cool backings and stories to them. And up in New England, co-ops are huge, and so it's a flow. It's a flow. It's you grab this, you grab this, you grab this, you grab this. By the time you're done, you don't need to go anywhere else. It's a co-op feel, and so what we're trying to create is a true co-op feel, which is just exactly what people a lot in the smaller towns they love. They love all natural, they love homemade, they love organic, they love local, and it's have a piece of my tiramisu cake with and then Kevin will pair an amazing wine with it, and then you can buy the salami to kind of go with, and you just kind of pair your weekends, pair your events, and pair your nights and dates around products that are across the board. So it's a very seamless, very co-op-y, awesome feel. And they have a great staff there, so it's exciting pairing and a great venture for all of us as well.
That's great.
Yep. And you'll also be able to get some of my cakes by the slice at a new place that will be going in up on the main drag in Blowing Rock. Stay tuned for that as well. So.
Perfect. Now, if someone is interested in having you do a wedding cake, how do they get in touch with you and kind of sort that process out?
Well, you can go to my website if you want to order anything as small as a tiny little 6-inch version of any of my cakes, or if you want a platter or catering or anything, it's www.uggamuggabakery.com. I got lucky with that one because there's no other Ugga Muggas. So it's uggamuggabakery.com. Or also Facebook, which everybody's on. Yes. I Facebook all the time. I do say, hey, this week I'm making X, Y, and Z cake. And some people say, I need a 6-inch version of that. Or I need 6 cupcakes version of that. So you can Facebook me. It's just Ugga Mugga Bakery. You can also text me if you go online and you just have 2 seconds and you just text me, salted caramel cake for Jennifer, and I'll just throw it in the case. I'll have it ready in 2 days and throw it in the case for you. So I'm pretty lax as far as all that goes. Pretty easy to get a hold of me.
Sounds great. Now that's a great point. How long, these cakes look so beautiful. I feel like this would take me months. How long does it take you to do this?
Wedding cakes, and the things that take the most time are fondant cakes. When I'm making, like tonight, I'll be making a 3-tiered fondant cake where there's going to be guitar coming out of the top and some other intricate things. Those take the longest because you have to I hand make all my fondant from scratch. So you're dyeing it and then you're kneading it and then you're rolling it out and then you're cutting and forming, and that is the funnest. Something like this where I've been making them for years and I'm used to making them. Really, like I just said, I assembled probably about 5 cakes in 2 hours this morning and decorated them, but that's because yesterday I did all the prep. I baked them last night. I made the homemade caramel. I had everything ready to go. Kind of run a well-oiled machine as far as efficiency goes. So that definitely helps out. And a wedding cake, I usually start baking them on Wednesdays. Or I do buttercreams on Wednesdays. I bake them Thursdays. I decorate them Thursday nights after the girls go to bed. I usually do 8 to midnights for most of the season. And then I leave Friday for decorating an oops. And I've never had an oops on a huge cake before. I dropped one of a cake I was making for Yosefa, which was hilarious, and they're so cool over there that they're like, they're laughing and we're all laughing about it. So I dropped a cake that was just a random one going to them, and I had one other lemon raspberry cake not make the hills of the town. I was kind of getting used to the town here and driving on the hills, but I had so much on hand back home, and it just took me like 10 minutes to go and whip up another one. But my husband helps me out hugely with the business, and he helps me out with almost all of my deliveries. But I have done 4-tier deliveries with kids in buckets before, in a pinch. Wow. And it's definitely a little bit nervous, but the more you do, the easier it is. So
yes, that has to be the hardest part, actually, taking this beautiful cake that you've made and delivering it somewhere and keeping everything together.
It is, I absolutely prefer. I've seen people and they put them in their trunks and they use all these tricks of the trade, and I'm like, I can't put that in my trunk. I can't touch it. I just still can't get past that. So usually my husband will drive and I'll have it, and your arms are a perfect example of something you can use to, you know, it's like a cushioner. So if we're moving, I can turn it, and I've never had a problem. Wedding cakes, they're actually more durable than you think because they're so stinking heavy, especially fondant covered ones. I mean, they're like, you know, it's like a 100-pound sack of flour. Yeah. Unless you incorrectly stabilized it, or you know, they usually don't fall. So but they're definitely it's definitely nerve-wracking. I mean, it's not the funnest part of the job. I'll say that.
Well, Ugga Mugga sounds like a great resource here in the High Country. We're so happy that you're here, and thank you for coming to talk with us.
Thank you. Thank you. So nice meeting you. And I just I love getting my cakes out there and feeding everybody. So I appreciate you having me today.
Of course. And we will be back right after these messages with more of the Mountain Television Network.